Look, they're really digging their heels in with this COVID zero strategy. They're not going to budge. I mean, health officials said this week they are just not going to turn the corner and open up their borders like other countries. Look, this is very political in China. One reason is they do have vaccines. 75% of their population is vaccinated, but the Chinese vaccines, Sinopharm and Sinovac, aren't quite as effective as some of the Western vaccines. China doesn't like people questioning that. They're determined to sort of ride this out. They're offering booster shots to their citizens. And look, their other argument is that, they have kept the virus out. I mean, life in China has gone on pretty much as normal. They've had a very low death rate, and they say they don't want to compromise that.
Which is extraordinary when you think of the size of the population. But then you hear of these extreme measures, thousands of people being isolated with just the slightest possibility of exposure. How long can they keep that up without some form of public backlash?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the zero COVID strategies come with a huge cost. China can be pretty draconian at the best of times. They've had a few outbreaks this year. They're in the middle of another small one now, but they're just getting more heavy-handed than ever. So there's been some extraordinary stories this week. Sunday night, there were 35,000 guests at Disneyland in Shanghai. They're all locked in well into the night because one person on the site apparently was positive, so they weren't allowed to leave until they were all tested, and then they had to go and isolate for 2 days after that. There was another primary school in China in the last 2 days where dozens of sort of very young primary school children weren't allowed to leave the school till after midnight. They all had to get tested. So you're hearing quite sort of alarming stories. There's stories of a baby that was tested 70 times. Look, I haven't been able to verify that one. And people, particularly in Beijing, the capital, people are just too scared to move around. If you're in the wrong place, the wrong time, you're just locked up in your apartment for 2 weeks.
Is compliance starting to wane?
I don't think it is, actually. I mean, in China, people are pretty obedient, and I think that the measures being implemented are just so strict, you don't have any choice. So I don't think it's not like sort of Melbourne where people sort of were getting tired of this and breaking the rules. You're just sort of not allowed to break the rules in China. I think it's going to be particularly hard in Beijing. They've got the Winter Olympics coming up in February, so they're sort of hyper paranoid about having a breakout there. So if you live in Beijing, you're really being encouraged not to go in and out of the city, and it's just pretty impossible to break the laws at the moment.
And Michael, we're also hearing stories of panic buying, and this is not just people rushing out themselves, but authorities warning people to stock up. Why have they been doing that?
Yeah, so earlier this week, one of the government departments put out apparently a fairly routine message telling people to stockpile essential goods and some food. Now, apparently this does happen from time to time. Vegetable prices are very volatile. But this week, this message really alarmed everyone. It went viral on social media. I was speaking to some friends in Shanghai earlier today, and they said they were sort of quite terrified. There were rumours that China was going to go to war over Taiwan. There were all kinds of rumours circulating on social media. They didn't turn out to be correct, but I think what it exposed was sort of this underlying anxiety amongst the Chinese people at the moment when you've got sort of energy shortages, you've got all these COVID snap lockdowns. So people are a little bit on edge at the moment.
And it's feeding into this sort of no one in, no one out. I mean, Xi Jinping hasn't travelled in hundreds of days, and people who want to come back to China, who have, even Australian Chinese, are really fearful of coming back or not really are able to get back in.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you're a Chinese citizen or have a work visa, you can get in, but you have to quarantine for 2 days in a hotel. Some of the conditions there aren't that pleasant, I've been told, and then another third week at home. Hong Kong's the same. So, look, it's so strict that people just don't want to leave. It's just too hard to get back in again. That's making it very hard for, obviously, people to do business, Chinese, Australians, to return home. And, look, the interesting thing is it feels like this situation restrictions are going to stay in place for perhaps another year. China is making no signs of easing up, whereas Australia and everyone else is. Partly this is political. It sort of suits Xi Jinping at the moment to sort of remain a little bit isolated. I think China's going to be cut off from the rest of the world in a way for some time.
We'll have to watch. Very interesting stuff. Good to talk, Mark. Thanks so much.
Right. Thanks for having me.